is on. We are now recorded. Cool. So in terms of the Discord, I just want to say welcome, welcome. Thank you guys for joining the Robot Pencil Mentorship. So shout outs to AJ. We've been doing this for about almost 3 years now. So it's been really fun journey, and people have liked it. So I kept doing it, and it's a really great thing for me and for everybody else. Recently, people from the other class, someone got some work actually, got some freelance. So that was a really cool moment. So shout outs to my homie for getting some little freelance from Sony. So killing it, it's killing it. So real quickly to kind of walk you through the Robot Pencil mentorship here. There's all kinds of stuff that you guys can do in here. There's general chat, resources, promo, feedback. This is all great stuff. One of the hardest parts about working and doing stuff in the industry, or taking classes if you're not in California, if you're not near actual school, is sometimes you feel very isolated, right? You feel like you're by yourself and it's hard to get motivated, and I totally understand that. So we created these things to help you feel like you are a part of the community. So I highly recommend that, if you want to work on your stuff, you can go to these things and they will help you get better. And I've seen people get better. I've seen people really grow as artists in this Discord. So I highly recommend that you check it out. And all of them have just different things going on, and I love it all. Discord is like really cool. The one thing about Discord that I thought would be really cool is they have a video chat function, but it sucks. Once they get the video chat function up, then I won't even need to use Join Me. I could literally just use that, and then everything can be run through Discord. So really cool. But what's also even cooler is that you guys get the the locked part, which is the mentorship. So if you go to the mentorship, then essentially this is all you guys. No one else can see it. So you can see that there's admins and there's Kalen students, right? And so all you guys are under this role. No one else can be a part of this unless I make them. So you have this is kind of your private spot under the mentorship. So you see a little lock icon, and then this right here is the voice icon for the mentorship. So you can go there, or you can go into the public servers. So you have all of that. Don't worry about these ones; those are all from work and stuff. But that's where, again, you can be a part of the community. So really cool stuff. So again, real quickly, we'll run through the website one more time. So when you go to the website, you'll see some stuff like so. You want to go to environment, design. I'm already logged in, so we're good there. And that's when you'll have all the videos. I'll try to upload some newer stuff this quarter, hopefully, if I get to it. But this is kind of the bare bones. And I think for me, this is kind of, I used to upload a lot of videos actually in previous times, and I kind of figured out how to condense everything to like this. So this to me is like the most important shit, I feel like. And I feel like this covers a lot. And again, the class stream is right here. When you come back to here, you'll see that this is where you'll find the actual videos, the YouTube videos that are being recorded right now. So what happens is I record these videos right now, and then you can watch them here. I just don't have a link yet because this is the first class. So after today, probably later on in the afternoon, you can come back and watch that session. Yeah, just make sure everything is turned in on time. We have the schedule. Everything is there. Should anything change, I'll let you know. But the Discord is where I'll probably primarily communicating with you guys. I do have it on my phone. So usually if you do message me, I will see it because I have the notification on my phone. I may not be able to get back to you all the time just because I have work. So that's the harder part. So AJ is like made this kind of thing this full time. So he's kind of like always around. I'm unfortunately not around because I was dumb and took on a full-time job working at a studio. So I made a mistake, but it's a cool job though, so I like it. Okay, let's get started. I'm gonna minimize this. I'm gonna bring up good old Photoshop, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna download whatever we have, and if we don't have it turned in right now, I'll just go back to you later. And what I want to do is kind of just run through the basics of the class today. I'm probably going to run through people that have taken the class before, just because I feel like that's probably the easier way for you guys to understand what's going on. So that's the way we're gonna we're gonna try it. So if you haven't had your stuff turned in, this is where you would want to do that. Okay, so put this right here, Leonardo, and let me make sure on my other part right here. So I'm going to my downloads folder right now, and I gotta make sure everything is removed that needs to be removed. I'll delete that. I don't know what document this is. What is this document? Oh, it's tax shit. Okay, cool. So we are here and we are ready. So let me delete some stuff here. Sorry, I have to delete like work stuff. We're live recording, so I can't be like showing certain things. I don't need to do so. Okay, so what I'm going to do is all I have to do right here is just go and then just download it. So very, very simple, very, very easy to do. And it will download right there. Leo, what's up? Let's just go with Leo, because Leo was a previous student. He came back for more punishment. You know, he was in the December one, and he is back again. So just want to say welcome, welcome. How are you, my friend?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Welcome, welcome back. Let's see what we got this year, man. Let's talk a little bit. Let's tell me about for the people that since you have already had the experience, man. Tell me about your experience and what you're hoping to kind of get out of the class this time around.
So my first class, I thought it was pretty brutal. It made me realize all the mistakes that I was doing, and so that was pretty good. So for this second part, I want to like build up on that and make more better quality portfolio pieces.
Okay, right on. So tell me a little about this project that you got going on right now. So I see we have some nice little designs here. We got some 3D. I mean, you have the 3D skills pretty heavily done here. What are you hoping to do with this project, or what is this project about for you in particular?
It's just I want to do like a couple like images, small, at least like 3 of them, and the images that pretty much from relate to each other. Like the first one is from like an outside scene from a city. Then we have the 3D, which will be kind of like a marketplace inside the city.
Okay.
And then a couple of props and that I've been designing. Actually, I did the props before finishing this one. Kind of like start realizing what sort of things we're gonna see in this scene.
Okay. Very, very interesting. All right. Let's see what we want to do here. So I think your line art was getting a lot better from the class, if I remember correctly. So I definitely want to keep going on that, especially if you want to work in games. Having just good line art, I think, is important. But I also want to make sure that we work on your values, getting good graphic reads, and being able to simplify things. And I think you're doing that here, which is really, really great. So some stuff that I want you to work on this today, or not today, but throughout the class, is we can work with this image. I'm not sure if I'm sold on the angle. So what I'd like you to do is I would like you to work on a few thumbnails of this shot. So right now, currently, what we have is we'd like to work on a let's see. There we go. So currently we have like the gate shot.
Yeah.
And we have the interior, right? The interior, like pretty much the hallway. So that's what we have. Interior / hallway. And so I want to make sure that you're comfortable drawing stuff without the help of the 3D, just because I don't want you to get too reliant upon it. So I'd like to see you first, before we go into that, is I'd like to see you kind of work it out, just doing some simple sketches, just black and white, of a possible shot of the gate, right? 'Cause I'm not sure if the gate design or the angle that we're choosing is the best. So currently right now, like this guy is like super huge. And I'm wondering if he might be better served, like kind of in the shot, but like maybe not as, not really in there. And also kind of the economy, right? We could be putting stuff right here. This looks like it's a desert. So there could be all kinds of stuff in here. And I want to make sure that we're kind of purposely playing with that. Usually outside the walls, that's where it's really, really shitty. There's all kinds of stuff happening just because people can't get inside. So people kind of live outside the walls. So I want to make sure that we get that economy right. I like all this stuff. I just think that this entrance right here needs to be epic, right? I don't know if you've ever seen Maze Runner recently, the new Maze Runner, but they have like a scene just like this where they're trying to get in to like the main spot, and like the main entrance looks freaking epic. Like there are people up there, all over, and like it just looks very, very ominous. So I would like to think that we can see maybe the entire wall. So I think that would be like really, really cool to see if you can see the entire wall. So what I'd like you to do is on a sheet, I would like this maybe like, I want you to work on this throughout the week. So I think we'll have this due next Monday. Next Monday. Just give me 4. I think 4 should be enough. 4 shots, right? I want you to paint, right? Use perspective if you need to, but I want you to do like, so it should look like this. There should be like 4 or 5, like 4 to 6 little shots, right? Just like that, and duplicate over, right? And so obviously, if we zoom in on one, right? We'll zoom in. Imagine this is kind of the right, the zoomed in version. What I imagine would look something very kind of black and white, heavily focusing on lighting and just the overall mood. So if I were to work something out right now, I want you to explore. I would look at a lot of movies where they come to an entrance that might give you some ideas, and this is some things that I would think about. Yeah. So if I'm doing it, right, and I'm just going to use just a flat brush here, like. Right. All right, we got to figure out, what does this thing look like when he gets there? So maybe we're thinking of straight values. This is me kind of just being very, very loose, but maybe we'll go, right, maybe these are stairs. All right, I want you to really kind of focus on what does this thing look like? Maybe the guy is standing. Whoops. All right. That's the guy. All right, he's right there. There's all kinds of cool little, designs, whatnot. Maybe it's old, maybe it's broken. Right, there's all kinds of things we could be seeing right there. Maybe there's some like pillars, something like that. That's kind of catching light as well. Whoops. Boom, boom. Right. So maybe there are things that are broken, like whatever you want that to be. Let me know, and I want us to kind of really explore the simplicity of that. Hi, baby. Sorry, a lady came by. She's going to boxing right now. She's about to go fight some people. So I want to see what that feels like, and I want you to kind of keep it to kind of simple values. So I really want you to kind of figure out like what the pattern is, what all that stuff is, right? So maybe this is the entrance, right? Maybe there are people kind of all like walking up the stairs. I want this to be, very, very simple in nature, yeah? So I want you to kind of really think about what that's going to look like. All right, maybe do something that's a little bit different. Maybe it's one that's a little bit like, maybe instead we see more of the sky, or the camera's turned to the other direction, right? So maybe we see more of the sky. Instead, maybe we see this guy and he's, right there, standing. And then maybe there's obviously something going off in the distance, right? So maybe there's the pathway, all that stuff. And there's obviously those pillars, and he's standing right there. And then maybe there is light, going there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to really think about the mood, the lighting. What is it going to look like when he enters into this thing for the first time? Because we really need to play off of that, right? We really need to think about what that's going to look like. So the first thing I would do is I would go grab some reference of people, of movies probably, movies or even video games itself, of people entering into epic things. I think Uncharted when I think of these things off the top of my head, and we can go from there, okay? Once we go from there, we'll probably get into some line art, and I want to save these two things for later, because I think what's going to happen is this is going to help us. So this is really, really good, because now we know what to populate the place with, the popular stuff with. And so what's really, really good about these is that we have these guys to put the people in there. We have these guys for epic scale. And then we have these guys for design. So if you can, later on, just add pillars, like add some pillars and stuff.
Okay.
And what we're going to do later is I'm probably going to have you do a little slice of life. If you don't understand what that means, it usually means that I'm going to have you draw a little like piece of land and what that would entail. So you'd probably draw people, you might draw a pillar,
Mm-hmm.
you might draw a shop, right? You're gonna draw all of the things, all the props. You're gonna take all the props and you're gonna put them together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sounds good.
What that feels like in terms of all of the texture, all that kind of stuff, the ground. We're gonna draw that out, and we're probably gonna do maybe like at least 4 of these, just so we can explore what that looks like. Okay, and that's really good for portfolio as well. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do for now is let's go with that. I'm going to save this out for you so you can look at that later. But I think this is a good direction to go. I just want to make sure that we get this going. I want to make sure that you're comfortable working out certain designs in your head, like just by painting, before we get to the technical stuff. Because I know you have that down. I want to make sure that we don't get too stiff with 3D, and that we're able to think very freely before we move on, okay?
All right.
Cool, man. Well, welcome back to the class, and let's get it, dude. Let's put in some work today. Yeah. Cool. And as always, if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll get it, okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you. Cool. All right. So thank you, Leonardo, for being the first guy. So yeah, let's download what we have there. So that's kind of how the class goes for the most part. Sometimes I will spend more time with people, just depending on what I think, if it's applicable to the whole class. It really just depends. But for the most part, you guys drive the class. The more you give me, the more I feel like I can help you. So just kind of keep that in mind. You get out what you put in, which is a very, I think, fair assessment to do. But yeah, let's see what we got here. So we're just gonna walk through some people today. Let's go with since I go from A to Z or Z to A, it just really depends. Today, I'm gonna kind of work my way backwards today. I'm gonna see what's going on here. So we have Scott. Is Scott on here? What's up, Scott? What's going on? If you can hear me, say something or unmute yourself. Let's see. Hey, what's going on, Scott? What's going on?
Hey, that's good.
Good. Welcome to the class, man.
Thanks.
Cool. Let's see what you got here. All right, Mr. Scott. So you were doing, last time I checked, you were trying to do the film studies, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool.
Simplify the shapes.
Yes. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, so I think this is a really, really great thing for you in terms of how to to break complex things down. That's one of the hardest things about doing environment art, and it's taking simple shapes and breaking them down. So what I want you to do already, because I already know, because I knew you're going to make this mistake, and that's fine, is I want you to avoid this, okay? If at all possible. So you're probably going to thank me later, but I can see you're doing it. So you know how you're doing this? You can see it? Don't do that, all right? I want you to practice doing something instead. So this is what's happening, is your paintings, do you have a problem with your paintings getting very muddy, I would assume?
Yeah, something I saw.
Yes. So the reason why that happens is you do that. Now, the reason why people do that is because traditionally that actually works because it helps build texture. But in Photoshop, we do things a little bit differently to build texture. So instead of doing it this way, so I would imagine that you probably, drew the character and you put in your, your shape, and then you said, okay, let us, boom, dun, 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 right? And you made all these different angles and stuff like that, and then you made it a little bit lighter and whatnot, right, et cetera, et cetera. So from now on, we are going to say, hell no, right? Not doing that anymore, okay? Instead, what I want you to do is I want you to make the brush big, okay? So right now, your brush was probably like this size right there. So we're going to go bigger, okay, like that. And what I want you to do is I want you to make the biggest stroke possible, right? I want you to limit your strokes, okay? If you can do it in 6, I want you to do it in 3, okay? Just like that. That's how I want you to think about it. And with that, I want you to think about it in a very subtractive manner. So I want you to lay in a big shape, and then I want you to be able to carve out with erasing paint in a very subtractive manner, paint out the rest of this stuff, right? So now I am carving into it, and I am putting in form, but my brush is always big. Can you see what's happening there, right? The difference is our shapes are looking a lot stronger. Now, when you begin to paint lighting, I want you to, again, still use a big brush. I just want you to try to do is just limit the amount of strokes that you're doing, right? Just very simple like that. So if we have so right there, that's a little bit too small. Make that brush bigger, right? See if you can go all the way across. And then you have a little beard there. Instead, I'm going to paint it the opposite way. I'm going to see how many strokes I can do it in. That's what I want you to get comfortable doing. And then only when you can't make the brush any bigger, that's when you can go in and you can add all that detail. So this is going to be really, really important for you to grow as an artist, is learning how to be efficient. Because right now, your stuff is going to look less muddy if you go in this direction. And I'll even do you one better. I'll break it down as well right here. So all this stuff right here, when you're doing your environments, I want you to think about just flat shapes, okay? So I'm going to color sample here for the sake of argument. Just make it one time, right? Ground plane, done, right? Background, done. And I want you to think of just simple values. So again, make that brush as big as possible, right? We're trying to paint the likeness of something. We're not trying to be exact, right? So you see how my brush is really, really big right there? Very easy to understand. I can take the next brush, the next value, and again, I'm just going to make the brush as big as possible. Because I don't really care about painting those details because they're really far away. And so the next question you got to ask yourself in the painting is, what is going on, right? So my question to you is, what's going on in this painting right now, right? What is he doing? Or what is the story, if you had to describe the story, Scott? What is this?
He's burying someone.
He's burying someone.
Logan.
Logan. Okay, cool. Shot from Logan. He's burying someone. So we got to make sure that that's readable, right? So everything else doesn't really mean anything. But to put it in layman's term, he's burying someone in the forest. So what we need to make sure is that the forest reads and that the actions read of this guy burying someone in the forest. So notice how I'm not putting in a lot of texture there, right? We know those are leaves, so we don't really need to make all that detail. We just have to put a little bit of separation between the shapes, and we can recognize that that's probably looking like a forest, right? We have all these little shapes right here, and that's totally fine. Totally dig that. I'm with you on that. But again, we're not worried too much about the texture. We're more worried about the placement of things, right? So as we're kind of drilling out these shapes, we're kind of pushing it out. If you don't have an art pen, I really recommend you get one. They are pretty awesome for this in the sense that it helps you get little shapes a lot easier. Yeah. And, I'm kind of just working my way from, background to foreground, right? I'm just putting in like shapes. I'm not really doing anything crazy that you can't do yourself. Like I know that you have the capability of doing that. It's just simplifying. So I'd like you to try it again, but I would just like you to try to simplify, not worrying about the texture. I want you to focus on the composition and just the mood of it, okay? So I want you to simplify it a little bit more, all right? So I want you to kind of keep it into 3 values. I don't want to see all this stuff, because what's going to happen is, what I see a lot of people in environments is they start focusing on the small details instead of looking at the bigger picture. And so I want you to think about, I want you to think about the bigger picture. And by using a big brush, you can't put a lot of details in. It's literally impossible, because the brush won't allow you to. So by making sure that we're zoomed out as far as possible, as far as humanly possible, it forces us to kind of make big decisions with my strokes, right? So I'm looking at here, and I'm trying to stay as zoomed out as possible, right? I don't want to get caught, all this stuff right here, right? So I'm just kind of putting it in there, and I don't care about anything else. And this is what I want you to kind of try. So I want you to try these again. I just want you to see if we can simplify some of these details. So even here, I don't want you to think about the overall shape of the body. I want you to kind of simplify that even more. Think about it in 3 tones, right? 3 tones is probably the best way. 3 to 5 tones is the best way. But I don't want you to focus on texture too much, right? I want it to look kind of flat if possible, but we're focusing more on composition, okay? So now we can look at that and break that down, and then, right? And I'll give you a good example of an Instagram that you can follow that will help you understand this theory. It's by a guy. I think Mache recently posted it on his Mache Kusiara Instagram. This is a great study of what I'm trying to get across to you. Where is it? There you go. Cool. Graphic cinema. Yeah, graphic cinema is a really great thing. What he does is he takes a shot and then he breaks it down into what it looks like. So I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll try to zoom in here a little bit. So here's a great shot from Gladiator, right? So what he's doing is he's literally breaking it down to its simplest of values, and he's adding more detail, if that makes sense. Can you understand that part a little bit?
Yeah.
So I want you to think of it probably in this range right here, where we're not worried about texture, we're worried about lighting, we're worried about composition, we're worried about the general masses of shapes. You see what's happening? So you're trying to look at it literally and say, hey, this texture, I got to break this down. Instead, I want you to break it down further, right? Because you're worrying about the details and not worrying about the overall shape, if that makes sense, okay? So I'd like you to think about it in this way. I'm going to post this actually in the Robot Pencil Discord, so you guys have that. and I think it's going to help you understand where we're trying to go with this. So here's another example of this as well. Right? Very, very simple, right? Shame. Boom. Right? So I want you to be in this kind of area right here. You can still add a little bit more detail if you like, but this is another great example right here. So again, we're understanding gradations. We're understanding simple shapes. Very simple. Boom. Right there. So that's where I'd like you to be with our next version. So if we can get to that, that's where we can start to really push ourselves in the environment. But that's where I want you to be. And hopefully you can see the difference now in terms of the simplicity when it comes to doing the studies. This is really, really going to help you later on, okay? Do you have any questions about this? Does that make sense a little bit of what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, it makes sense. So you want me to do that for next week?
Yeah, I want you to do, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3. I want you to do 4 more. You can either redo these ones or you can choose 3 new ones. That's totally up to you. I'll let you drive that ship. But I just want you to keep this in mind, right? So if I see this, right, if I see this stuff right here, I'm virtually slapping you. We don't want that, right? That's the reason why you're probably not progressing as far, is because you're zoomed in too much and you're worrying about that. So we're going to break you of that habit in this class, okay? All right, so we're going to get rid of all, and I'm going to save your wrist. Your wrist is going to thank me, I promise you, because your wrist is probably like, dude, what the fuck are you doing to me right now? We're not going to do that anymore, okay? We're going to find easier ways, okay?
Okay.
Cool, my man. All right, I'm going to save this out, and you'll get this as well. Actually, shit, let me do this right now. Dropbox, boot camp, assignments, week 1. Okay, I'll save it in here. Cool. And I forgot, I gotta save Leo's in the other one. So give me a second. And let me do that. So luckily I have this all organized out, so we're good to go. Cool. We'll sort by date. I gotta delete all the other homework from back in the day. There you go. Sorry. Delete. And yeah, delete. And all right, I think we'll go at least to week 4. And the rest I'm good. Sorry. I never clean out some of the people from previous classes, but here's like an example of people that I'll like talk to about like their work, and I'll write stuff down, give them all that stuff. But you will all get all that in a little bit. So thank you very much, Scott, for being the first victim, first guy to try it, the first new guy. So welcome. And let's see what you do, man. If you have any questions, just hit me up. We'll go from there. Let's go to downloads real quick. Environment class 1. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Nikhil. Yes, he had the town. Yes, let's talk about this. Where are you at, Nikhil? Let's see here. Great.
How are you all?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. So we're trying to do that town, right? That's what we're thinking about.
Yep.
Cool. I'm going to give you some rough stuff here. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to give me just a rough pass. I don't want you to be too exact with everything, okay? Because then that kind of stops the flow of the environment. So I want you to give me maybe just a rough pass, maybe like 2 to 3 versions of just rough passes here. So what happens is the same thing with, it kind of falls in the same problem that Scott has, where you're kind of just detailing one house, and we're not looking at the thing as a whole. Does that make sense? And I want you to draw it as a whole first, just so we can understand. So if I were to draw this out, what I would like you to think about is, right, I want you to kind of just be very, very loose with things. Right, I don't really care about perspective because we already have the 3D, right? But I want you to think about like what's going to happen here. So we want to think about cool stuff, right? Maybe these are steps, sure. maybe the steps then go, shit, I don't know what I'm doing. Sure, we'll go right there. Maybe it's like a plank or something like that. Maybe there's rocks. I want you to be very, very like, I want you to really kind of think about just the overall space, right? Because if we're going to see this in the game, right, I want this to feel like it's one big painting. I don't want you to focus on it individually until we know what we're going to do, right? So maybe right here, there's like a fountain or something like that, whatever that may be. If this is like a rock cliff or something like that, we definitely want to think about where that's going. And if that is a bridge, which what looks like, right, we got to think about the cliff and where that's heading out. Don't be afraid to change the environment a little bit more in terms of height levels. Like I want you to kind of really push that idea more. So then I want you to think about, terrain, texture, all that kind of stuff. I really want you just to be very, very loose with it. Okay, and that's what I would like from you today. Is just to think about, what direction things are going, right? So now if we get to that part, we can work our way here. Maybe there's a gate or something. Instead, I want to really think about the player kind of going through the environment. So what I would like you to do is kind of think about like an A and B, is think about where the player starts and where he's going to go. And if you can think about that, we can then think about how is he going to get to stuff. So I kind of think of it like this. The best way to think about it is like a ball. And think that your player is a ball. And just think about where is he going to bounce around throughout the environment. Is he going to go on top here? Is he going to go around, right? All these different things. He's got to go over the gate. Think about each little section of visual interest that we can have throughout the environment. So try to like section it off a little bit. So, right, that's how it's going to get through, right? So here, we have this environment, but we go, oh, you know what? Maybe, there's something facing this direction. And he's got to walk through this place and go in, and maybe he comes out right there. Because maybe there's a bunch of stuff blocking his way. If you do have stuff blocking the way, right? So maybe he's got to go in this direction and then jump down. There are huts, right? And we're going to work our way all the way here. Maybe there's like some big towers. He's got to climb up, something like that. Does some Assassin's Creed type shit. There's all kinds of things we could be doing here, right? So I just really want you to be a little bit more loose here. So this isn't about necessarily your drawing ability in per se. It's more about your ideas. So I would say the idea is important here. Because I feel like you can draw. I feel like your skills here are good. Like, I understand what's going on, and obviously we can refine this as we get further on in the class. But right now I want to make sure that ideally, like what you're presenting me, like feels cool, it feels lived in, okay? That's what I would like you to do. So I think the reference is good. This is all amazing, especially this one in particular. I feel like this looks really familiar. I forget who did this, but there's a lot of stuff going on in here, and I think the reason why this works is because there's like different things going on, which the person can kind of move throughout, like kind of traverse throughout the environment. I want it to feel like that. So think of cool ideas as you're kind of drawing this out, right? Think about, again, go from A to B, okay? And with that, I want you to kind of get a general thing, right? I don't want you to draw one piece. I want you to draw it all at once, okay? So I don't want you to go like render here, then render here, then render here. So what's going to happen sometimes is that one thing's going to have all the detail, or one thing's going to have too much detail, or it's all going to feel very, very separate and not feel combined, okay? So I want to make sure that we work on that today. So if you can, give me like 2 to 3 rough versions. If you want to draw smaller, then that's fine. But I just want to make sure that the idea looks cool, right? I want to get the basic block out of it first, before I start getting into detail. Because after that, what we can do for your portfolio is we can go in here and I can give you call outs, and I can say, hey, draw this in orthographic view. and you'll draw that for me, and we'll do all kinds of cool texture and all that kind of stuff. And you'll draw props and do slices of life and stuff like that as well. But for now, I want to make sure that we get this guy all nice and ready. Okay? Cool. So thank you so much, Nikhil. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, let me know. But let's get that going so we can start working on the fun stuff, which is, again, doing some of these little call-outs right here. Like doing these kind of things. I call it kind of like a slice of life, where like you take a piece of it and you show what it looks like. That's what I want to get you to in terms of paint. Yes. Cool. So let's get 2 of those. Hopefully we can finish that by next week, and then we can do a final pass of the line art, and then we can go into these kind of things right here. So it should give you around 2 or 3 portfolio pieces that should be strong. Okay. So
by next week, I will give those 2 cleanups.
Yeah. 2 or 3 rough versions. Yeah. If you want to see where that can possibly go, here, let me do this. If you want to see where that can possibly go, I can give you a look at Cullen's. Cullen did some really good shit last year for me. It's like literally the same exact thing, actually. Let's see if he has it. Assignments. Week 1. Boom. Cool. So Cullen did. How do I get to my internet? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Cullen did. Where the hell is he? Nope, that's not it. No, that's not it either. No. Oh, there he is. There he is. Oh, shit. He freaking gave it to me as a PSD. This guy. This guy. All right, we'll still look at it though. I think it's kind of relevant in a way. So we'll give it a second. Good thing my internet is fast. This file is freaking huge. Wait, how big is this file? Goddamn. Wait. 271. Oh shit. Wait. All right, no, we're good. We're at like 200 right there. Yeah, I got fast internet. Thank God. Come on. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And we are there. Cool. So what Cullen did in my class in particular, which is I think what you're trying to do, is he gave me a line art pass of a thing, and he had to work on this for a couple of weeks actually. He was in the 2 months, so he had a little bit more time, but he definitely grinded on this guy. And then once he got this figured out, what he ended up doing was some callouts just like that. And this was because he wanted to do an Assassin's Creed thing. And with that, you could see where you could try to jump over. And then he went as far as to actually render out the callouts. So he actually made things modular. So all of these pieces could actually make the buildings. It was really, really cool the way he did that for me. And he did slice of life kind of stuff to show scale, to show texture. And then actually ended up giving me color as well in the class. And then kind of broke that down. But he had a 3D block out though. And ended up kind of going with there. So I think at the end of the class we didn't get to the full-on painting, but we kind of got close. So I'm wondering actually how you finish this. But that's my goal for you, okay? So at least get you to like here where we can draw this stuff out, okay? Cool. All right, my man. So it is possible because he was kind of really struggling in the beginning, and then always just bam, started. He was on it. So it's possible. So let's make it happen. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Cute, Scott. Okay. All right. Miss McQuaid, Miss Julia. Hello. Your voice is so soft, and that's okay. It's making sure that I can hear you. Okay. It's all cool. This is kind of the PSD. I like PSD sometimes. Helps me understand where you're going there. Oh, look at you using Mr. Stephen Todd. Yeah. No, it's cool. Stephen Todd was a previous student of mine, and he actually is currently a concept artist at ILM. So yeah, and actually some of this work that he did helped him get that job at ILM. Haven't talked to him in a while because when you work at ILM, you pretty much disappear off the planet because you're working 24 fucking 7. But I'm sure I wish him the best of luck, and I hope he'll be doing his thing. So cool. So you're trying to go for some Uncharted-esque stuff, I assume?
Yeah, I was kind of just trying to throw around ideas because I'm still trying to figure out which direction I want to take it. I was thinking about like Horizon.
Okay, Horizon. Okay, I can mess with that. I like that. To the line art. Okay, so I think what's gonna happen is I would say don't get too caught up in the individual details right here. So I feel like right now you're getting like I'm gonna draw a tree, and then you work on the tree really really hard. What I would suggest moving forward is just kind of just think of it like this. I would try to go in a way where we just kind of put in, like, think of it like a map, like a key. Okay? So we will turn off the reference here. And I'm going to say, here's A, here's B. And I want you to think about the things that are going to be here. I want you to write them out visually. So I'm going to say, oh, this is going to be a tree, like vines. And I want you to think of cool things first, right? And I'm going to say he's going to go down here, and then maybe he's going to go down here, and then he's going to traverse all the way around here, and then go up, which means that needs to be something here that's blocking it. So I'll just draw like a big box, right? So we're going to block that. He's going to go up here, and then let's see. Right. So this is what we're thinking, and I want you to think about anytime the player transitions, what are we drawing here, right? And I want you to kind of list it out, possible things. So maybe this will be a statue, right? And this will be a epic gate. And if you start from there first, I think it will be a little bit easy to understand. And I will write debris. And I will write maybe more vines. And I guess rocks, something like that. And what you're going to find is that you can actually just replace these words with whatever you want, but it's more so the placement. So once you get there, I feel like it's very, very easy to kind of just lower the opacity of this guy and just start kind of drawing, right? So now we can kind of say, all right, well, this is going to be the vines, and it's going to come out, and maybe this is how the person kind of climbs on it. And so notice that we're not kind of doing individual detail too much. We're kind of just like drawing everything. And I want you to kind of just work your brain through the environment, okay? So maybe here we're going to say, oh, there's a big giant rock. And that's where he's going to go. And I'll draw the more rocks and stuff like that. Maybe from here we got to draw this big piece of debris, which I imagine is either like some kind of like statue face or whatever. But we'll just draw the big rock, right? The big rock, all right? Maybe it's a big giant piece cut into the environment, all that kind of stuff. And then maybe these vines are still going. We'll kind of follow in the vines here, right? I'm not too worried about form, all that kind of stuff. I'm just worried about the flow, right? This is what I want you to think about. This is what I want Nikhil to think about as well. I want the environment to flow. And so if you draw things individually, you're not thinking about the flow too much, yeah? So now I'm going to draw this. I'm going to say, oh, yeah, he's going to draw these rocks, and they're inside of the wall. And maybe this is like cut into it. And it's going to look like ass, but it's going to help you understand, right, like just the general kind of like pacing of the environment. Because this is kind of a complicated environment that you're taking on in particular, but very, very helpful for you if you're really trying to get better, right? So he goes up there. Maybe right here, there's like some kind of man-made structure. So that could be kind of cool. So we draw that out. You know, maybe he's in there. Maybe there's some, you know, man-made stuff here, like barrels and all kinds of stuff. People live there. Maybe this is like a hut or some kind of, you know, building or something. And we can draw that out. And it doesn't matter what it is. Just you have to make a decision is all that I care about. And then we can always discuss what's going to be cool and what's not going to be cool, right? So maybe there's all this stuff here. Maybe there's like a village where people live. And then after that village, right, he goes down. And then now we have all like the cool stuff, right? And we're kind of building that out. And then now we have the face, right? It's like two eyes. They're staring at you. And he's like, hey, is that a nose? Maybe that's a nose. Oh. Yeah, like that. Big giant nose. All right, that's creepy, right? I don't want to go on that, but right? But it's still like they're placeholders. So I want you to think about like how do we figure out the placeholders for our environment, okay? It still has to be a cool idea. And that only took me like a couple minutes, but that's kind of the point here is that I don't want you to be like, oh, I have to draw this amazing line art of a tree first, because that doesn't help anybody, right? What I want to think is the idea. I want you to be like, hey, I got this idea that he's going to come down these vines, he's going to jump down here, and I'll put it in blue, actually. This is just me thinking on top of my head, but it's like, yo, Kalen is going to come down, he's going to land right here, he's going to jump down here, he's going to go around here, right? Like, think Mario Brothers, right? Think of the ball. I want you to think about how do I go throughout the environment, right? I want to bounce around. I want to go all kinds of places, you know? I want to be everywhere in this environment, right? I want this to be like cool. When I'm playing a video game, I want to be like, dude, where do I go, right? So I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to bounce here. I'm going to bounce there. I'm going to bounce there, right? I'm going to go in here. I'm going to loot this shit because you probably do that in video games, I assume, right? I'm going to steal this shit in here. And I'm going to like maybe possibly fall, but I get back up. I'm going to go through here and go to the very end, right? So the question you always want to ask yourself is a very common thing is, where am I? Where am I? Where did I come from? And where am I going? Hopefully you understand where I'm going with that is you know, where did we come from? We came from above. Where are we? We're in this environment space. Where are we going? We're going to the creepy mouth, right? God of War is really good at this. For you always understanding where you came from, where you currently are, and where you got to go. So if we can work on that this week, I just want some rough sketches. I don't want you to get too hard on yourself here. Like I want you to just think about focusing on just making cool ideas first, and then we can focus on the drawing. Think about the placement, okay? So right now, currently, what you have is you have about like 5 spots of visual interest. I want you to think about these 5 spots right now. So you have one right here. I'll make this some purple so we can see it better. So you have 1. We have like 2. We have 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's kind of compartmentalize like that. Then we can start working on some line art. So I want you to think of those ideas first. Then we're going to draw it out. Okay. Cool. All right. So don't get too worried about it. So I don't want to see like one rendered thing. And this is more like a time thing, as what happens. People like, they're like, shit, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to draw this really nice tree because I'm comfortable drawing trees. I don't want you to do that. I want you to think about it as a whole. Okay. So I want you guys to start thinking of the bigger picture. And this is very, really hard for artists in the beginning, is that we get stuck in the details. We're like, my tree is the shit, right? And then we don't have anything else, right? I'm like, well, what do I do with this tree? This is a branch, right? So I want you to start thinking, I want everyone here to start thinking about the bigger picture, right? The bigger picture, what's important here. And then we work on the details as we go through, okay? And it's going to make your stuff look better. You're going to have a lot more to show for it in your work. Cool. Thank you. Actually, let me save this in the right spot. Sorry, I didn't save it in the right spot. What am I doing? Boot camp, assignments. There we go. Boom. So we got that. Let me make sure. Let me double check that. Double check. Boot camp assignments, week 1. Okay, we got Scott, got Julia, Nikhil, Leo. Cool. All right, we are good there. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Corey Larson, what's up?
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
How's it going?
Good. Look at you. Look at this epic, like Uncharted-esque environment. It's kind of like, it looks a little bit less like sci-fi. It looks more like ancient a little bit.
Yeah. Honestly, I really didn't know what I was.
Fair enough. That's most of us in life. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Cool. I actually dig this, that you took something that was sci-fi and made it into like more like Aztec-ish a little bit. It's really interesting, actually. I'm not sure where we should go with this, but I think what we want to do first is let's get some line art. I think that's probably where we want to go, just so we can maybe understand like some of these structures here first. So what I would do is I would try to get a rough drawing on over the whole thing, and I'll try to break it down some more. So I think what's happening right now is like this is all nice, like you have all these little pieces here, but now it's getting a little bit muddy. And so what I would like you to do is I want you to kind of compartmentalize real quickly. And this really helps me when I'm doing an environment, especially like if it's getting really fucking complicated, as I don't do that, right? So much better, right? Just kidding. Right? We loosely paint over it, right? Like that. And what I want you to do is on another layer is I want you to figure out the massive shapes, right? So you guys are kind of seeing this trend here of me saying work bigger and work more general and break things down to simpler shapes. That's what I want you to do. So I want you to kind of break this down and say this is one shape and this is the other shape, right? And then you have 2 shapes right there, it looks like. And you have that. And you definitely have these guys. This is going to help you a lot in terms of really understanding what we're seeing. And so obviously what we'll do is we'll probably make this like a square just for now. That's the shape that we're looking at, all right? And I want you to design in each function, right? In each form. So you have kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, these are actually you actually only have 1, 2, 3, 4. You only have 5 things to design, unless you're going to put something in here, maybe that could be a little bit different, or maybe something in the background. But for the most part, you only have 5 things to design because they're all modular, right? So that's what I would kind of maybe take your time and break it down like so. And the reason why I say you do that is because then once you work on your design separately, you can then just replace it. It's like think of it like 3D. So then what you would do next is, so you have your design, right? This thing, like kind of the 3D block out. It's very, very, very rough, and you're drawing it out. Then on your next image, you can actually draw it out separately. If you're drawing all the pieces out, and then you can put them all together and just apply it. You can then again take that and reverse it and put it on there. And so I'm actually going to go out on the limb here. I'm going to show you some freelance that I've done so that you can understand where I'm coming from on this. So because you're drawing something that's kind of complicated here, and that's where it's very, very easy to get kind of overwhelmed. So what I have here, if it shows up, is I have these. Actually, I'll just bring in the Photoshop. Screw it. All right, so I have blockouts. I don't know if you can understand that idea, that what I did first is that I drew the blockout of how I imagine things to be composed, and then I drew on top of it the environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think what's happening is you're trying to go to here, straight here first. We don't really have this first. And so when I'm drawing stuff, right, each time they're different. And then it's the same environment, but how they're being arranged is really, really important, okay? I want you to think about that, because then what happens is then I can work on this out separately. I can build this stuff out like so, and then I can just apply it to this when I'm done, okay? So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to think about it this way, right? I want you to kind of break things down into simple kind of compositional like boxes. So again, everything can kind of fit in a box, a cylinder, cone, sphere. And I want you to really think about the shapes and how they're kind of breaking it down, and if the shapes are actually working, and then we can draw on top of this stuff, you know? I think that's probably the hardest part. And I think what you guys are going to find out in this class is that most of you guys can draw, and you already have the drawing ability. It's mostly your problem solving, like how you are approaching a visual problem, right? This is a visual problem that we have, is that we have this basic shape, but we're unsure on how to approach drawing it. And my goal for you is to give you ideas on how you can approach this, if that makes sense, right? Like, how do I approach drawing this complex thing? Do I draw it all at once? Do I use 3D, right? My job is to show you the possible possible things you can apply to this in order to get it done. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to kind of break things down into the biggest shapes possible first. And if we can do that, then I think we're in a good spot. So I'm actually even gonna like save these out. I'm gonna give you this. Just don't give it to anybody. I'm gonna delete the actual designs, but I'm gonna delete the unimportant shit.
Okay.
All right. Boom. Come on. What the fuck? What? Oh shit. Man. Sorry. Smart objects. Hate that shit. All right. And I want you to think about it like this. So I would like you to give me some rough blockouts of what we're seeing, and I want you to be able to be comfortable changing the layout. Okay. And I want you to apply this to here. Once we get there and we feel comfortable, we can start to break this down further and start to actually design on top of it, okay? But right now, I feel like you're kind of all over the place, and you're kind of just drawing what you're like how most people are when they draw. They're kind of just like, I'm going to draw here, I'm going to draw there, I'm going to, you know, you're kind of like this, Like, I want you to be more scientific here with how you're approaching it, okay? So we're going to take a step back, and we're not going to think about it like, here we're going to like look at it as a whole. And I think it's going to make your designing process a lot more effective. And I think what's going to happen too is you're going to realize that you can actually work a lot less harder and get more results, which is amazing.
Nice. I like that.
Yes, I like that too. Because you know why? I'm lazy and I like to play video games. And I like to go outside. I like to play soccer. I like to go boxing. I like to walk my dog. I like to do a lot of shit. So if I can be efficient and not have to put as much work in, that's the way to do it. And a lot of this is going to happen. It's going to save you guys time and your wrists. Your wrists are important in life, and I highly recommend you cherish those things. So we're not going to be doing like that kind of stuff anymore. Okay. Cool. So that's your goal. Let's give me like let's give me 4. I think you can do that because we're kind of just working on the rough blockouts. We're going to pick one, and then we're going to go from there. Okay.
Okay, so just like different configurations or like different angles?
I think we can keep the same angle. That's fine. But what I want you to do is I want you to break down this stuff even more. Like this kind of stuff right here, it's kind of convoluted a little bit. If you want to change the angle, that's totally up to you. But I want some of this stuff to be a little bit more thought out in the shapes, because right now we're just drawing like squares.
Yeah.
And so I want you, and I think the reason why is because the squares are very easy shape to do. Let's see if we can kind of build this into something else besides that. Like maybe we have cylinders, all right? But the problem is that when you probably would draw that, you're like, shit, well, what is that? And all of a sudden you're worried about the details as opposed to how do all the shapes look together, all right? That's what I want you to think about. So how far you want to break that down is up to you, but I want us to get just like the basic block out. I want you to draw on top of it. So think of it kind of like a block out on top of a block out. So like I think right now you kind of went to like full detail mode, and I can see that's probably an issue for you. So I'm going to have you kind of go back and really kind of take our time here so that we can learn it, we can get a process for you on how to draw on top of stuff easier. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. So I'm going to save this out for you so you have this. This should be some good inspiration on how we should be approaching it moving forward. So,
Thank you.
no problem. Good stuff, though. We're in a good spot. So, yeah, it seems like everyone's kind of having the same issue that I noticed. Well, that's good. That's a good thing, because then it's less things for me to think about, actually. So I can actually just focus on one problem together, and it kind of affects everybody. So that's always a good problem to have. Let me refresh here real quickly, because I know there's some people that still have some stuff to turn in, so we can kind of go through it. And, oh, shit, look at that. Look at that. We got Tom, Clean. I think that's it, right? So, all right, let's get Tom in here. Why is it not? Did I get it? All right. Well, I hope so. I hope so. Mr. Thomas, what's up? Are you on a car? Are you in a car right now? I'm sorry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Cool. Sorry. All right, let's go here. Real quickly, let's see what you got. Boom. Hey, look at that. Little hunt. I like that. That's fucking tight. This is cool. He's like, man, I gotta go hunting again. Some bullshit. All right, let's see. Dig that though. Digging the colors. Digging this. So, out of curiosity, where are you trying to go with this actually? Because I actually dig all this stuff. I like this. This is probably where Nikhil needs to be in the future.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, I have more projects, like, this is set, and like, maybe the scope. So looking, how can I flesh it out to complete project?
Nice. Okay. Cool. Then we are going to talk about that. I dig this. This is like you kind of went to like step 3, ironically, like which is good. So at least now we know like you can do that. This is kind of like the aftermath. So usually before we get into the call outs, we kind of do like the viz dev stuff. So you kind of have it right here, but because it's more illustrative and not necessarily, it's not necessarily a concept, it's more like a book cover, right? Like, you know what I mean? I feel it was the book where it's called Tom McLean by Corey Larson, right? And then it's like, you know, anyways, this is really, really cool. So I think what we should do is this is a good start. This is kind of the cut out that you want to go for. It's kind of like the mood you want to go for. I think where we can get shots out of you is simply doing this. I would love to see some shots like so. You'll see me do this a lot with other students, is I'll give you a camera angle, and I'm going to say, like, what am I seeing here? Right. That's always a great way to work out. So what I would like for you to do first, considering that you already know how to draw, I want you to give me a map. Okay? And so I want you to give me a map. And on this map, right, we're doing like Scotland stuff, right? Last time I checked. All right, yeah. My fucking wife loves that Outlander show. You ever heard Outlander? Apparently, this is like some show that like all women fucking love for whatever reason. So they love this Jamie guy. It's like the Scottish dude. I don't know. I don't understand it. But anyways, so all I do is hear Scottish people talking all the time. But I want you to draw me a map, right? And in this map, I want you to draw me this town, the city, wherever the hell we are, right? So if we're in Scotland, right, we're by the water, you know, I want you to think about like what's going on here, right? Very, very simple. And I want you to draw me the city layout, right? This is your town. I want you to break this down for me, right? So I want to say, like, here is the forest. I don't know. Right. Here's the docks. Whatever's in your world, I want us to figure this part out, okay? That's probably going to be the hardest part, is understanding, like, where we are in the midst of everything. Like, is there some big, crazy, like, Scottish rock in there, right? All this kind of stuff. Or there's some mountains. I want us to figure this out. And what's going to happen is, if we can do this and get this well thought out, then it becomes a lot easier for me to say, hey, you know what? I like a shot of the docks from above. You get what I'm saying? And we can start working out that story, all right? And then what I call this is like the strategy, I call it the hero's journey. And so you're like, hey, I want to build a project out. Well, this is the best way to do it, the hero's journey. And all we got to do is figure out where the fuck he starts from. So he starts on the mountain. And again, it doesn't really matter where you want to do it from. But you could say, hey, he's on a boat, and he then sails past this rock. He then gets on to the docks. He then goes into the city. And then he goes into the forest, where he then finds a cave, kills a bad guy. And hopefully this makes sense, because now we can create a bunch of shots, right? We can do a shot where he's on a boat, right? And he sees this epic mountain, right? And he sees the cities, he sees the docks, all that stuff, and he's there, you know. Then we go, oh, what does it look like when he's in the dock? All right, well, when he's in the dock, can work on that shot. Maybe there's a bunch of ships or whatever, and sorry for that. And there's people walking, right? And there's people stuff, right? We're building out the story of this guy. And then we go, oh, he's now going to be in the city. Well, now he's in the city. Now there's people walking around. There's all kinds of stuff happening, right? And he's like right there. He's got a staff. He's a staff man. I love staff men people, right? And if we're lucky, right, let's say you're killing it, we can definitely do some interiors. Maybe he goes inside to a blacksmith guy, right? Talks to the blacksmith, and then he, inside there, so he's in the hut. So this is like the door entrance or whatever. And he's in there, and there's a guy in there, and what does that look like as well? So I want you to develop the hero journey for me. And I want you to do a little more writing this time, okay? So when you develop the hero's journey, I want you to develop at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I want you to develop at least 4 written story beats, like 4. And so and it has to be a short sentence, okay, of what's happening. So we'll name this guy. We name him. What should we name the character? What's his name? What's this guy's name? You gotta give him a name. Bob? All right, we're going with Bob. All right. I need 4 story beats of shit that happens to Bob. Or what is Bob doing? I want to see. What is Bob doing? And if you can give me like a short set or 2 of what Bob is doing in your hero's journey, it makes it much easier for us to concept that out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And now we can start to work on this. So for example, if I were to give you an example of what that would be, I would say story beat number 1. I would say Bob is sailing across ocean on boats with British soldiers, right? Give a little history in there. I don't know. Right. Yeah. So something like that. Okay. So Bob is sailing across the boat on British soldiers. Sees land for the first time.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. And then I want us to work on that with this so that we can then begin to figure out what that looks like. Okay? So this is great. We're just going to use this in a more effective manner. Okay? Cool. So let's get the stories, let's get the hero's journey first. This shouldn't take you too long, in my opinion. So what I would like for you to do is to get your hero's journey figured out, and I'd like you to at least work on the first story beat, okay? And when you work on the fourth story beat, I would like it to be just like a couple of different thumbnails, maybe like, 3 or 4 of what that looks like. So your first story beat should look like this when you lay it out for me, is we'll just say like story beat 1. I want you to have that. I want you to have the written description, and I want to have 4 drawings like you did in this one right here, 4 rough thumbnails of where we're going, and we're going to work that out. And then, right, we draw that out, and we figure out what that's going to look like. From there, we're going to pick one. We're going to start designing that out. We're going to get you a good drawing out of it, and then we're going to work on the next one. Make sure that you color. Okay? Cool. Do you have any questions about that so far?
So when you were kind of design this, would you go designing from the image first? Would you kind of think about how, say, this like town or something would work before sketch that roughly out, and then go to kind of a composition?
Yeah, to me, I'd like to think about it in writing form of the things, like the hot words that you would like to have in your written description. And then from there, I would, so this is the way I do it. I like to have like a written description of what I think is going to be cool. I draw the map first. I think about how a player's going to go through it. And then I actually go to the drawing pod. If I'm trying to do a whole police environment. So the reason why we do it this way is because when you're working on films and movies and stuff like that, unfortunately, you as a freelance artist, guys, you don't have this stuff given to you, right? So usually when you work on a film, this is what happens. They give you this map, they give you the script, they give you all the things, and they say, hey, this is the most important story beat. This is Bob ran for the first time. This is in chapter 1 of the book or the script. I need you to figure out what this looks like. Well, the problem is that you don't have a director with you, you don't have a writer with you, you don't have a producer with you. So in this class, in order for you to work on your own mock projects, you have to kind of be your own director, writer, producer, if that makes sense. So what I'm trying to do for you is get this stuff for you figured out now, so that way when you actually do your cohesive story, it actually makes sense. That's the way it's going to work in the film industry. Film industry, you always get a script first, and they give you a treatment, and it has like key elements in the story with written descriptions, and then all we do, the same thing that you're doing here, is we just draw it out. So I'm going to have you create the story first, so that way we can work on this stuff in a much easier pace. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so let's get that going. Let's get the boring stuff out of the way first, so that way. And by the way, the more detailed you make this, the more you can work on this like throughout the year. So if you make this map huge or whatever, then whenever you're bored and you're like, shit, what can I work on? You go, well, I haven't designed this part out yet. You can design it out. I've had students do that for like years, and then they still have stuff to work on all the time because they created the story in the beginning. Okay? Cool. Good stuff, dude. I dig it. I think where this is going. Yeah. So let's get that story out. Watch some Outlander. Watch some movies. Watch some Braveheart. Whatever the hell you want to watch. Get inspired. Make a story. Like figure out the environments, the lands. Get some reference for that if you need to, and then we can start working that out. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna set that out for you. So you're gonna be doing a little bit of writing for me in this class, but it's gonna be good for you. Then you won't need anybody. All right, cool. All right, my man. Thank you. We'll send that out. Real quickly, am I missing anybody for assignments? Let me check. I don't think I am, and we obviously have a half hour left. So I want to talk about some stuff real quickly. I think we're good. Cool. So that's kind of how a class will work. If for some reason you can't make it to class or you have to go somewhere, just message me in the beginning and just say, hey, Kalen, I have work today. If you could, please, do my critique first. That would be great. I have no problem with that. Just gotta let me know. I forget sometimes because I have a lot of shit going on. But overall, the class was good. I think for most people, we have a couple different problems. One is just being able to simulate a studio environment. So a lot of stuff I got to do for you, unfortunately. But it's going to be really, really good for you. So let's see here. A couple things is I think some of the key points here is like don't get too caught up. Like I feel like what's happening is like if here's an eye, we're looking like at the tree. We're looking at like one tree. Sorry, it's my amazing tree. But forgetting there's like a full on like forest, all this kind of stuff, right? And we don't want to like miss like the overall detail. So don't forget that. Okay. So, all right. So Felix said he's missing his feedback. All right, Felix, let me check real quick and make sure that I didn't miss you, which I might possibly could have done. So, and we'll talk more about that later. Oh, Mr. Felix was right there the entire time. How dare I? How dare I miss that? Sorry about that, dude. Real quickly. And we'll come back to this idea, forest for the trees. I want to make sure that we don't get too caught up into that. That's like the kiss of death for for designers. All right, Mr. Felix, how's it going? Riano. Hey, cool. In the future though, let's just make these like more square, so that way it's easier to see. Cool. How's it going, Felix? What's up? Let me see what you got going here. We got some environments. Interesting. Okay. Very cool. Let's see. Okay, cool. So it looks like we have some like abandoned kind of forest stuff. So real quickly, I think let's do, my gut reaction is saying let's do 4 more. Only reason I'm saying that is because I don't think the execution is all that great. And I think it might be a brush issue. So I'm going to give you a quick tip on line weight. I think that's going to be a big issue for you moving forward, is line weight. So what does that mean? What does line weight mean? Try to limit how thick your lines are, and I want to use it more objectively. So this is what happens if you kind of zoom around in places. Your line weight is all over the place. It's thick right here, it's thick right here, it's thick right here, right? There isn't like a hierarchy of how thick your lines are, and that can be a problem when you're trying to convey distance. So when I think about lines, I try to think of it as, just like that. Okay, this is important to know, right? I want you to keep it to like these 5. So when you are drawing, let's say that I pick, I'll pick this concept right here. We need to make sure that we are using the proper line weight for the proper detail versus distance. Okay. So that means that if I am blocking it out, I will probably use an even smaller line, if it's even possible. Yeah, I'm going to use a small line. Now, why is that? Because you can barely see it, right? So I'm putting all this detail. I'm kind of blocking it out. I'm doing all this stuff. At the same time, I'm probably going to grab a brush just so I can put in some perspective. So I want you to draw a grid as well. This is kind of important. So I don't think our perspective is quite there yet. And so the brushes that I gave you, they have a grid. So I just wanted to make sure that you can see that. Yeah. Whoops. So that's kind of hard to see, obviously. We'll make the brush a little bit bigger, and we'll kind of work our way out there. So I'm going to look at this guy right here. And hopefully you can see what's happening here is I'm kind of going back and forth. And I'm going to I'll kind of riff off of your environment here, I think. I'm going to go too crazy with it. We have, little pieces here and there. But for the most part, the lines are like one thickness. We have this big, giant, piece of rock that seems like people are living in it. And I want to get more, I want to get more form to it. So if there are people living in it, it might face that way. Maybe it faces, this way. There's all kinds of stuff that could be happening here. I'm not really sure in particular, but I want to break all this down. Okay, so let's say we go with that. So that's one line weight that we've used so far, right? It's very, very simple. We can then increase our line weight. So now our line is more like that. So now I can maybe go in to the foreground and say, oh yeah, I think this needs to be separated a little bit more. So we're going to use our line weight for that. Maybe there are forests, which is definitely like a possibility. So, we can go in there and we can kind of break that down. And so even though you're kind of doing these rough sketches, you can still always have good line art, a good line weight, no matter what, even if they're like really, really rough. I would still encourage you to have a strong line weight, like even for things that are as rough as this, because it will save you a lot of time. I promise you. So if you want to treat it like a marker, I'll put in little dark shapes right here, just to kind of help figure out like the value structure of where we can't see things. So I imagine in a forest you can't see underneath them. So that's all I'm doing right there. It's kind of just putting in some dark shapes where I think they need to be. And there we go. Now here, I can look at this and say, oh, well, that's a cliff, right? So I can break this down. And notice that I'm able to do that after having good line weight. Otherwise, it just becomes a pain. So we work that out. We're putting little sketches in here, or little sketchy marks in here. Maybe there's a person right there. All right, and that's the first line weight. And then you can kind of work your way up in terms of adding more detail in certain places. So, if you want to, you can kind of break it down right here. I know that the buildings here are kind of important, so I probably want to try to highlight those as much as possible. And we kind of work our way throughout the environment a little bit easier. So that's what I would like to see a little bit more out of you, is let's try to avoid a brush that that has this, okay? Like this is kind of important. Like I don't want any of that stuff in particular, okay? So let me work this out for you. So here, hold on a second. Let me quick. Riley. Riley, I'll talk to you in a second. So Riley had a question if you were missing something. you were supposed to have something to show this week. That's why I gave you guys the connection to the assignment, to the website early, so you can get started early, so you can get in the thing, so you can get into the class with something to show. If you don't, that's fine. Just message me after class, and we can figure out what we're going to do for you for the class. Okay? So it's not the biggest of deals, so don't worry about that if you didn't get that. Okay, sorry. Back to Felix. Sorry. So I want you to work on your line weight a little bit more, okay? And so let's avoid a brush that has like a pure thickness to it. A good brush that you can use, it's really, really easy. It's just this brush. It's like a simple, right? You press light, it's light. You press hard, it goes hard. So I want you to think about line weight. So a great kind of like study, or a great kind of like thing you could think about here is just draw like a box. This is the thing that I always tell people to do, is draw a box. And then I want you to like draw another box going into it. Whoops. Or actually draw a rectangle, so that way we don't have any tangents. And maybe we'll draw a circle. All right, so look at that. We have 3 different shapes going on. Well, the problem is it's the same line weight. So what you do is, if things are overlapping, you give it a little bit more of a thickness to it to show that it's overlapping. I'll just notice those parts right there. And then what we do is, for the silhouette, we kind of give it a little bit of a thicker line around everything. So we kind of take that and we say, oh, you know what? We give it overall a kind of thicker line weight for the silhouette read, so that this reads proper, okay? And just like that. So now it feels like there is a proper line weight. It feels like there's a heaviness to it. And that's what I want you to think about when you're drawing on these. So I would like to see if we can do these again, but I want you to consider line weight a little bit more. So the things I want you to avoid is these areas right here, where the same thickness is the same right here versus the same right there, because then we can't tell the distance, okay? So I really want you to focus on that, right? Line weight. Line weight's so important when we're doing rough sketches. I need to make sure that you got that on point, so just be careful about that. So think of it that when you have your foreground, right? This is your foreground, this is your middle ground, this is your background. Give yourself a range, okay? So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I would say for the foreground, give yourself a range of 1 through 6, right? For the midground, give yourself a range of 5 to 3. And then for the background, give yourself a range of 1 to 2, right? 2 being these lines. So I want you to establish that, and I want you to work that off, okay? And this should make your stuff a little bit easier to read, okay? That's what I want you to do for this week. We're going to fix your line out. We're going to fix your line weight first, get that going, and then we're going to move forward from there. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions with that, just let me know, and we're going to get that popping. So I think the overarching problem would be, I think it's just seeing the forest for the trees, and that happens sometimes, is that we get really caught up into seeing like the individual tree instead of seeing the whole problem. And so I think when you guys are detailing and stuff, it happens, like I was the same way, is that we get like, as we're drawing, we're like, oh, I gotta draw like every single, like, it's the tree theory. I call it, again, forest for the trees. I don't want you to think in that way, right? Instead, why not just draw it once, right? Make the stroke once and practice making that stroke one time so you don't have to worry about it. Learn how to erase right? Learn how to cut into the shape. And instead of saying, hey, I'm going to, design, I'm going to, paint into this and say, I'm going to, do all that, right? Just do it one time, right? Just make the stroke, right? Like cover the whole ground, light it. Then from there, you can add, details and stuff like that. But that's the problem right now, is that we're not thinking about the silhouette first. And then we're kind of just like, we're thinking about the texture too much, okay? So the way I like to think about it, guys, remember, is let's approach it this way. In terms of shape, right? Value, pattern, and texture, okay? So a lot of you guys are kind of focused on the pattern and texture first instead of the shape and the value, okay? This is really, really important that you understand that. So just make sure that when you're working on the shapes, we want to focus on the broad stroke of things. So, if we're drawing a hut or something like that, or whatever you want to draw, right? I want to focus on the shape first, right? And so this is going to be painting additively, it's going to be painting subtractively, right? That's our hut, sure, right? That's the shape of it. Notice I'm using a big brush. I'm going as big as I can, right? Maybe there's trees there, whatever, right? Shape, right? Next thing is value, right? What is the value of something? Let's go a little bit lighter, right? So what are the values? What are the basic values, right? Without any lighting on it. Right, so that's what I'm thinking of. That's my hut. These are my value structure, if I have any. And again, using the biggest shapes possible, right? That's all that I care about, right? So I'm still thinking about shapes. I'm just adding a few values in there, We can do a little house, whatever you want to call it. Maybe there are some extra values in there. All right, shape, value. Nothing crazy here. Maybe this guy has a little bit of a lighting thing going. Right, shape, value. I'm keeping it as simple as possible. And notice that I erase a lot, so I'm trying to do it in one stroke, right? Very, very easy read, very easy to understand, right? That's what I'm thinking about. Shape, value, pattern. Now with patterns, if there is anything, right, if there's some kind of like brick texture or something like that, I can, draw all that out. This is where layers kind of help out here as well, but that's what I'm thinking about. Like shape, value, pattern, right? All that kind of stuff. If there's, all those little pieces. Then we go to texture, right? And that's when you can kind of go in there and say, oh, okay, I'm going to, add in all the cool brushes and stuff like that. Or I can say, oh, you know what? I'm going to add in some texture here and stuff and, make it feel like it's very, very like hazy. And that's when you can then finally go in and start to grab all that crap. Yeah, you can go in there and start to throw in those little bits of texture here and there. But what's important though is that the first two is what solves the problem first. Okay, so this is kind of where I want you guys to go. I want you to think about it first. Okay, so let's not go forest for the trees, right? I want you to think about the whole thing first. Okay, so I think, are there any questions moving forward about the class and what you guys need to expect or about the work? Again, I'm always around for the most part. Like I'm at work, but I don't have problems like answering small questions here and there. If you are going to catch me, usually lunchtime might be the decent time. Anytime after like 5 p.m., my time is probably the time you want to hit me up. That's when I usually get off to run work, and or kind of a little bit later in the night. So kind of give you guys an idea. But overall, everyone did a great job. I think we're in a great spot. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great class. I think the class is pretty strong actually. A little bit surprised. So yeah, let's go from there. So we're going to cut it a little bit early because I'm going to talk to Hiluex a little bit privately to make sure that he is good on his assignment. And then I'm going to see you guys on Thursday. So the one thing about this, guys, is don't try to procrastinate a little bit. When we meet twice a week, like, it's for a reason. It's because if I give you a week to do something, you're going to get lazy. Like, 'cause I'm one of those people. So by me constantly being on you twice a week, like, it's going to be a very fast-paced class, and it's going to go by really fucking quickly. So you have to be on your shit if you want to get the most out of the class, okay? Because I'm gonna be on you. Like, I'm gonna treat you like I'm an art director, and like, if you don't get shit done, then like, you're not gonna get stuff out of the class, okay? And especially for people that don't extend the class, if you only have 1 month, what happens too is that you might make mistakes, and then you don't have time to recover or learn from them because you only have 4 weeks. Some people think that like 4 weeks, meaning twice a week, is a lot. It is in a way, but it also isn't if you aren't taking it seriously, okay? Where if you have 2 months, you kind of get a little bit more leeway to make mistakes, and you have more time to kind of be a little bit more exploratory, where you can explore things and try things out. So it really depends. So if you're 1 month, you have to really, really like be focused and dedicated. So that way we limit your mistakes. So that way you get good stuff out of the class. If you're 2 months, we can take our time a little bit and kind of explore some things, but just be careful, just be wary of that, all right? Because some people, like, you think about it, like, next week is week 2, and then all of a sudden you're like, shit, I only have 2 more weeks left. Like, you're already halfway done. So let's make sure that we're on the same page here, okay? So with that said, I'm going to leave you guys to it. Again, today's Monday. Let's get started now. You have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. So you have 3 days, and after Thursday, you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you have 4 days. So let's get it going, okay? So thank you, Nikhil. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, who else am I missing? Riley. And I think that was it, right? And Felix, right? Yeah, cool. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to get this video rendered out. It takes about maybe like 2 to 3 hours to render it out, and then I'm going to upload it onto a page. So again, when you go back to the Robot Pencil site, it should just be there on the site, yeah? So just kind of keep that in mind when you're going to go. So yeah, it will be right here when it's done. And then you can watch that, and if you have any questions, we're good to go. Cool? And then again, you can view your paint overs right there. You click on that link, and if I look on it right now, your stuff already should be in there. See? It's already right there. So you're already good to go. Okay? Luckily, my Dropbox is linked to it, so as soon as I drag it in there, it's already good to go. Cool? So if you have any questions, please message me on the Discord, all that kind of cool stuff. In the meantime, you guys get out of here because we're about to work. We're about to put in that work this 4 weeks. And so let's do this. I want to get some good stuff out of you so I can brag about you. Okay? And again, last quarter, someone got some work from Sony in my class, so it's possible. So put in the work, good things are going to happen. Okay? I'll talk to you guys later. Take care and peace out. Lates. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks, man. See ya.
See ya.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.